So hello, here we are on One Chi with Alessandro Ferullo, if I pronounce that correctly.
Yeah.
Jolly good. Welcome indeed to the One Chi project. Now you're a Qigong teacher in the UK. How long have you been teaching Qigong for?
About 20 years or so.
Oh, the same as me. Yeah, interesting. And how did Qigong find you, or where did you find Qigong? How did it all begin? What's the story there, Alessandro?
It's not very exciting start. I think I remember being bored one weekend about 35 years ago, and a friend mentioned a Qigong workshop in North London in a church somewhere, and I'd never heard of it even, but somehow I went along, and there were 6 people there, and I met my teacher for the first time, Qigong Wang. And I sensed that weekend this energy between my hands. I sensed something that was there, and it felt like I've been looking for it for all my life. I knew that we're living human beings, but life seemed too simple on a materialistic level. I had a job, I had a home, and I was just going through the motions in life, and there was something kind of lacking. And I think when I discovered it, it just awakened me to something beyond, my own small kind of narrow world. So that started I've been following my teacher ever since, as he's developed his practice, because he was also starting then, but he's now been teaching, for about 40 years or so.
Yeah, that recognition of something that is already within you, that's such a key thing, isn't it? That you kind of land and you're like, oh yeah, so this has always been going on, but I've only just noticed.
Yeah.
I know, it's amazing. So what is it that you particularly love about Qigong then?
I think nowadays, firstly, it's great that people, talk about energy and they understand it a lot more. I think maybe 10 years ago, people thought we just landed from another planet. But actually, Einstein, talked about energy. He says everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. So even that more enlightened scientists, artists, definitely tune in to this, energy that's always there available, whether it's for self-healing, for creativity. And I think, I just think, firstly, without it, we wouldn't be alive, because it's what keeps nature alive. It keeps us healthy. So actually, when we take it a stage further, we can use this energy to improve our lives on many levels, body, mind. And as we raise our own energy, then we attract different situations into our lives. We can help more people. So it's a very, very practical. I think it's very much needed these days with even the whole COVID situation. It feels like it's so relevant at this time that people can take control of their health, their immune system, do more for themselves. And I think the world is ready to hear more, not just about Qigong, but any energy practice that can help them to transform their emotions and connect with, you mentioned earlier, the earth and the heaven and the energy that's around us and available all the time.
Yeah, that is so true, isn't it? Be aware of the energy that's already around us, that we are made of energy. Everything's made of energy. And when we notice it, it becomes more apparent and more available for us. And I think, as you say, at this time also taking responsibility for our healing capabilities, and then you say like any energy work will do. It's not just Qigong, but actually Qigong means energy cultivation work. So in a way, all forms of energy practice is a form of Qigong, one could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to have that name attached to it, does it? But
No.
certainly to be aware of how your energy is, how you're feeling, and how you can work with yourself in this respectful way. That was one of the things that I really got, how respectful it is to work with your system in this way. Give it time to show you what it needs you to do, so it gets the mind on board with the energy system. I mean, it saved me, really saved me. So
I love the Chinese term. I'm not sure how to spell it exactly, but I think it's Zheng Ren, which is like to become a true human being. So Qigong is a kind of way to guide us to be ourselves, because often in life we tend to go off track because of either, as we know at the moment, the education system that's kind of slightly flawed, the media, expectations from our parents, from ourselves. So actually it's just becoming who we are. And, you know, the Indian mystics talk about this. And I love that. It's nothing weird. It's not to become weird. It's actually to become normal, or become a true human being and fulfill our potential, because often many of us are not. Sadly, we're on, you know, on a different track, and we're not particularly happy. So
Oh, I love that. It's not weird. You're just becoming more who you really are.
yeah.
But be prepared. Yes, it's quite a deep dive. But you mentioned Qigong Wang. So you do follow a lineage form then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a self-healing form. He calls it Qigong, this system he's created. Hua means transformation or dissolving. So it helps to dissolve problems in the body, transform emotions. And it's a very simple but quite precise self-healing form. So, you know, I teach that. And I've noticed that the power is in keeping the clarity in one system, because I know people who used to study with him, then they went to another teacher and they mix up their teachings, and it just ends up, it's okay, but it's a bit diluted. And as you know, even Ken Cohen, for example, it's very precise. You know, he talks about how this is how it's done. If you then become spontaneous and do other things, it's okay, but it's a different thing to recognize that this is the practice, and we stay within these parameters for this particular lineage, and then you get the results, you know, out of the practice. Otherwise it can be a bit messy. And I know people who learn from books or YouTube and things like that, and it can be a bit confusing if you don't have a clear system.
Yeah, that is a really good point. And but there is something about experiencing other ways of teaching to help you find what your way is, but then knowing this sort of this clear structure as well to come back to it. So if you have your initial teaching, you bring whatever else has happened in your life back into that structure as a reference point. But also, as you say, this clarity is so important, isn't it, to be very clear. And the basic tenets of Qigong are the same within all Qigong structures, as far as I know, which is just magical and so interesting. But I think you're right, to find a system that works for you. That's always so key, isn't it? What resonates with your energy and what makes sense to you, for sure.
I mean,
so sorry.
Go on.
No, I was going to go to the next question, but you
know, you won't go on. So then ask me the next question.
No, I want to know what you wanted to say then.
No, that I think my teacher often says there's, you know, a lot of people say they're not interested in Qigong, but when he asks, are they interested in being healthy? They say yes. So sometimes it's just the word. If we call it yoga, they say, yeah, I'm very interested. But even yoga has different systems, and some people don't want to be pushed and stretched. They want the more meditative. So it's very interesting what attracts people. And I've seen so many people come over the years, thousands of people. And often when things are brought up like emotional discomfort, or they're relatively healthy, then a pain appears somewhere, they don't like it. But actually the Qigong is kind of revealing what needs to be worked on. And, you know, you do need a certain commitment to yourself. And I think it's a pity that nowadays people want a very quick fix for things, and they've got used to that. You know, they want a microchip or a pill, and they want it immediately, and they want to pay a lot of money, but they want it immediately. And, you know, that's not how things like Qigong work, even though people can have immediate results, but the intention needs to be there to kind of commit to ourselves. You know, it's not committing to, you know, a God or, you know, anything weird. It's committing to your own practice.
I love that. Committing to your own practice, committing to taking care of yourself, committing to listening to yourself, to forging that relationship with the depth of who you really are. And nobody else can be that for you.
No.
So, you know, to people who are taking themselves on, and teachers like yourself that help to encourage people to find ways to be healthier. So there's a lot that can be gained from Qigong. What is it that you have particularly gained yourself, Alessandro?
It's hard to say. I didn't come for health reasons, thank God, but I noticed that definitely my health has kept, you know, has been good. If I get ill, I recover quickly, but more importantly, I don't get ill, hardly ever. And that's good. You know, that's a nice way to be. Sometimes it's years without any illness. I think it's more, for me, it's like a spiritual practice and a mental clarity about life and about death, that I feel like, you know, life and death are so close together. And if we're worrying, especially at the moment, you know, I think the biggest virus is fear, not COVID. And people are worried about dying, about getting ill. Just that worry affects our energy, our moods, our relationships. So if we can let go of that fear and understand that, you know, we're all going to head there one day, how about living life more fully in the present? I think Qigong is a real reminder to be grounded, to be present. And this is where our joy and power is, and not to worry about the future or the past. And I know that, you know, many psychologists say we spend over 80% of our time thinking about the future or the past, you know. And how about if we could be more present, more grateful, more connected? Things could shift, you know, in quite major ways, which doesn't mean you have to do a lot of, you know, incredible complex practice. Often it's very simple things, which maybe later we'll go into as well.
So true. Landing in the now moment. I mean, it's talked about a lot. It's like grounding's talked about a lot, but what about when you actually let yourself do it? And it's grounding practice that is central to what we do here. But I'm feeling like you don't just come in and out of grounding. You want to be in that grounding connection at all times. You don't ever want to lose that connection, because that is such a sustenance for us. It's just an energetic intelligence to connect with Mother Earth, and to allow the all the traumas and the tension and the fears and the anxieties to find a way through and out of us. We're not supposed to hang on to this energy. It causes stagnations, and that's what causes it ill health. So you're absolutely right. We've got quite a lot of work to do, haven't we? Which is why we're teaming together the Qigong teachers in the UK, which is really, really exciting. So yeah, I'm sure we will come into speaking with you again in the not too distant future. But until then, have you got a short practice that you could share with us now, Alessandro?
Yeah, I have. I think one of the things I've noticed is that one of the few things we can control is our breathing. And when people get tense, they tend to hold the breath. And when, you know, people get, you know, anxious, the breath is quite shallow. So one of the things we learn in Qigong is to breathe down to our lower abdomen, just below the belly button. We call the dantian area. But an even simpler breathing is what they call often like a body breathing or a pulse breathing, as if every cell in the body is breathing, or every cell in the body is being breathed. Actually, we are being kept alive by the universe, by this universal chi or energy, because, you know, when we're asleep, we don't have to think about breathing, otherwise we wouldn't be alive. So something is empowering us and allowing us to stay healthy and vibrant. And when we breathe fully, then that oxygenates the blood, helps circulation, helps the energy to move. So the practice is just to imagine, and we can do it while we're still talking, or, you know, in some stillness, is just that every cell is exchanging the breath with the universe or with the air around us. And then it settles the whole system. It even settles the thoughts. It's like the thoughts can't be too active if we're focusing on the breathing. So I often do this if I'm tense or worried, or even walking too quickly to the station. I just kind of go into this state of allowing the body to be breathed, and allowing, you know, everything to go into a deeper state, just through switching the breathing into active, into, if you like, more passive. Sometimes it might even feel like we're not breathing, but actually we are being breathed. And that's the kind of ultimate, in a way, that we're empowered by this breath or universe to be alive and to be nourished by it as well. So people can do this, you know, when they're quiet. We can continue talking. But as we're doing this, or people, if they're watching, they can do this as they're listening. one of the other things I wanted to share is very simple. What I like about a lot of the Qigong is that often they call it like a heart-to-heart transmission. You hear something or sense something, and it shifts the way we see everything. It can be. It's like a way through beyond the mind. And one of my best friends went to China a few years ago, Margaret Miller. She had actually breast cancer. She was given 6 months to live, but she started practicing Qigong. She lived for, I think, 27 years. So she was a great practitioner, teacher, etc. And when she went to China, she asked a Qigong master, what's the most important thing about the practice? And he said, always keep a smile in your heart. So with the breathing, just imagine we're being breathed. Just imagine a smile in our heart. And then every cell feels like it's smiling. It's like the whole body becomes almost lit up and energized in a very simple way. And then we can stay longer within a longer meditation, or just remind ourselves often to get into this deeper state. And it helps to relax the internal organs, the whole system. As I said, oxygenate the blood, purify the energy. So that's my tip of the day. Don't forget to allow yourself to be breathed.
I love that. Be breathed and have a smile on each and every one of your cells to keep your vibration high. And you can do this anywhere. So that's the beauty of the Qigong practice. It can become what it needs to be for you. But yeah, I could just feel that idea of being breathed. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us here today on One Chi, Alessandro Ferullo. There we go. We will be back in touch with you very soon. Thank you so much for being part of this project.
Okay, thanks a lot, Clara.
You're welcome.